the instability within CARICOM, and that I think that you are well aware of this topical issue and something that which presents a lot of concern to the region and to which I believe all interests in the Caribbean, both government, non-governmental, labour, should be very much conscious about and be keen to, of course, see some resolve. So what I would like to share with you this morning, that we in CTUSAB do have some concerns about the growing instability within CARICOM. So the Congress of Trade Unions and Staff Associations is very amazed that there has not been an unequivocal denunciation by heads of the governments of CARICOM community or individual Caribbean trade union leaders and the leadership of the Caribbean Congress of Labour against the military incursion by the United States of America upon Venezuela as a sovereign state in the region, and the unjustified military strikes being made upon vessels within territorial waters. The Congress of Trade Unions and Staff Associations of Barbados takes issue with the reservation by regional governments, trade union organizations, and regional non-governmental organizations for not forcefully speaking up against these developments, which have serious implications for the region as a zone of peace, its economic stability, social and political destabilization, and more importantly, the threat it holds for the very existence of the CARICOM community. There's real cause for concern regarding the several comments attributed to Governor Bissessar, the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, on the status of CARICOM, particularly that in which she described CARICOM, I quote, as dysfunctional and self-destructive, unquote. The Prime Minister's statement that Trinidad and Tobago would not bind itself to the political, economic or security policy of CARICOM states underscores the political division which threatened to undermine the stability of CARICOM. This became more apparent with the utterances that Trinidad and Tobago is solely about that country's interests. CTUSAB supports the observation made by Mr. Gaston Brown, the Prime Minister of Antigua and Barbuda, that the Caribbean strength rests on collective action, shared sacrifice, and mutual respect, and that rhetoric that fractures, it weakens everyone. At a time when the actions of the United States are detrimental to the member states of CARICOM, where the threat of war looms across the Caribbean and Latin America, travel restrictions are imposed on nationals of Antigua, Barbuda, Dominica, Haiti, and Cuba. CTUSAB maintains that this can be no better time to demonstrate regional solidarity and support as opposed to division and acts of selfishness. At this time of a regional challenge, the Congress of Trade Unions and Staff Association of Barbados sees no room for a repeat of that experience of the short-lived Caribbean Federation of 1958-62, when Trinidad and Tobago and Jamaica took leave on account of internal difference. Those of us committed to regionalism would not be inclined to hear the utterances of the expression which were then made by Dr. Eric Williams, the then Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago in 1962. And I quote, "One from 10 leads not," unquote. He viewed and folk Trinidad and Tobago as the largest member of the Federation. The attempt of regional integration was a failure. So this Congress is very much concerned that if the heads of our government and our regional organizations as stakeholders don't engage and to have a full assessment of what's happening here, and to have a common position, and to have the fortitude to push back. Though we may be small, we have a geographical location that has of interest to the world. I'm sure that we have to use what is at our leverage to ensure that we have some sort of might to demonstrate in world politics. It cannot just be to remain silent and to wait to see what happens next.
On that issue of the you talk about condemnation of some sorts regards to the actions of the United States. Shortly after that issue, that encouragement, the Prime Minister held a press conference, and she issued her position as basically say that, well, it's just, a lot of it's relating to what CARICOM said. But I mean, do you think that, what I'm getting at is, do you think that Barbados has been, as one of the leaders of CARICOM, being forthright enough in its response to the Venezuelan issue?
I don't think the matter of Barbados. I think it's a whole, the approach by the regional heads of government is one of everybody trying to protect the turf and look after their interests. Everybody seems to be looking to handouts from the United States to America. I mean, let's take the whole refugee issue that we're hearing about recently. You have a superpower who is invading your space, seeking to undermine your economy. A superpower who is putting all type of positions restricting your movement of your people into their space. But they're going to tell you, they're going to send refugees of all class and grades and colors. And selective CARICOM governments decide, put their hands up and say, yes, we can accommodate. But we in the region talking about free movement of labor. And those people did not sign on, as far as I'm aware, to that. This is a sense of what I call selfishness, and people who are just, as I say, looking after their own interests, all because they believe that they are going to benefit from whatever the almighty United States of America offers them. And if we are still supposedly, at this point, maintaining lack of pride in ourselves, a lack of independence, as we say we have, then it clearly suggests that as a region, we are not together. And we are on the brink of further dividing the CARICOM unity. And by virtue of that, we are even self-destructing as individual islands. Because as soon as America does not get through with their bidding, the threat comes out like you are next. So they identify Cuba's next. Who says they will not identify Barbados as next? We are already suffering from the lack of, let's say, the travel arrangements of people having fear of travel to the region, and we are feeling the effects. But you know what? We've heard bulletins from the United States without only recently telling people, oh, Barbados is not safe, raise flags about travel because of violence. So they don't have to hit us with any big arm tactics. They can use a lot of other strategies to undermine the economic stability and even the social stability of our country. Our politicians need to stop playing games and be serious and reflect the strong will of the Caribbean people. Because I don't think there's any nation in the Caribbean that is supportive of what's going on. And if we feel that we have nothing that can be taken, we'll soon find out. Our strategic location can be taken, and let's say can control the entry to Africa, Europe, Latin America realm, because you know we are a hub and we are strategic, and they can come for that when they're ready.
Okay. Some people have said that to have this approach is somewhat looking at the situation in a vacuum, given our dependence on tourism dollar. So we've seen that on the morning of the attack in Venezuela, although that's months ago, we would have been impacted. But it's still not a figure, but we in terms of how much money Barbados lost between the Saturday, the Sunday, and Monday when flights resumed. So can you tell me what your suggestion would be in terms of economic diversification? Let's assume that we take a stance and CARICOM speaks boldly, as you were suggesting. What we can be with the repercussions?
You see, that's why you put eggs in one basket. Many years ago, I wrote a paper, I mean many years ago, about the world region not being able to be self-sufficient, and when the tourism product its vulnerabilities. Because look, for example, we had COVID and everything came to an end. The United States today could only stop its carriers from flying, or as it did in the incursion in Venezuela, lock the airspace. And we're doomed. But you know what? I believe that nation should be able to feed itself. And people have promoted Caribbean as a breadbasket. We know that between Ghana, Jamaica, Haiti, and Trinidad and Tobago, and Barbados to that mix, that we can provide enough food to feed this region. But you know what? We hear a little bit about somebody doing something here today at the more superiors. We have to be able to develop in our own backyard how to use our resources. Ghana has a lot of resources, mineral and waste, including oil now. Jamaica got bauxite, right? Trinidad got oil. It has a massive farming community that all the others they do. Ghana. Why can't we find ways to develop some things in the region that can help us to create employment and reduce dependency? We can become an export corner of the world, but we can sit down and wait and everything to come from foreign countries, including resource and people. And I say that we want import persons to work on the tree and all sort of nonsense. We have to stop and be more progressive in our thinking. Our politicians are just, to my mind, myopic. A lot of them seem not to understand what is required. Talking and thumping the tables, and people what are talking about me in terms of my general criticisms, but I'm not talking about the individual government. I'm looking at when you look across, there's all this thing about people supporting the idea of coming together, they got power. Power to do what? We have to make meaningful changes to our political agenda, which will filter down to where how we live, work, and care our business, how we do business. Because if we want to bring about change, we have to be the agents of the change. We can't be doing the same thing over and over again and expect to get a different result.